Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Hey, welcome back everybody to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How has everybody been doing? Have you been having a good week? I know I have. Man, it's been crazy, but so far things have been a lot more calm for me, so definitely a lot more relaxed, definitely feel more energized and ready to go and begin this show. And by the way, it's kind of funny to go and mention about this particular episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, because I'm just going to admit right now, I was actually very close to calling this week off. Considering that there hasn't been a whole lot of animation news or even entertainment news that really is worth talking about, I was honestly considering maybe I should go and hold this off until next week, you know? Maybe I should go and give myself a bit of a break, you know, like just to go and like give myself more time while there are going to be more entertainment news that might suddenly come up. But then suddenly came last night, or the night before I am recording this, in which one news came out that completely changed everything, and I knew that I had to talk about this, and that's when I decided today, okay, well, you know what, with that thing going on, I think it's a major priority to go and discuss about it, so might as well make an episode. So, just want to give you all a bit of a heads up that this will be a smaller episode than usual. There will only be 4 stories to talk about instead of the usual 5, but still, we will go and make the most out of it. And before we go and begin this, by the way, there is actually something that I would like to go and bring to your attention, and that is actually a petition that is happening online, and it's this one in particular. This petition called Warner Brothers Animation and CEO David Zaslav recognize all Animation Guild represented production workers now. So the reason for this petition happening is because, as you may know, in July, the animators and workers at Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network Studios have all voted to go and be represented by the Animation Guild, which is the official animation union. However, ever since then, the executives at Warner Brothers, including David Zaslav, put in no effort whatsoever for them to actually recognize them as union workers. In fact, some say that they could be dodging that recognition, which is why they have ultimately decided that they don't want to wait anymore, and they feel like they're going to be waiting until it never happens. So that is why the people at Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network Studios decided to go and create this petition on the website Action Network. And just to go and make a quick refresh, as you could see, they have already gathered so many signatures so far. As I am recording this, they have gathered just about 21,000 signatures. And if you have not signed this petition yet, it's actually very easy. All you have to do is go to actionnetwork.org and then just make a free account, just sign in. And then all you have to do is just go to this place over here where the petition is, and then you can go and put in your name, your email, and your zip or postal code, and then boom, done. Your signature has officially been put in. And on top of that, by the way, you can also add either your occupation or add any extra comments on the matter. So this is just something I would like to go and bring up, and to bring awareness that this is something in which a rare occasion where animation fans and animators can work together to fight off against the major executives in order to give the workers who are making many of your favorite movies and shows, to give them more respect and better treatment within the industry. So again, just go to actionnetwork.org and find the petition that says recognize WBA/CNS production workers now. So that's just something I would like to go and properly present. In fact, for you Twitch users who are watching me live, let me just go and actually put it on the chat wall just so you can have a link if you want to go directly into it. All right, so anyways, with that said and done, now that we have this all prepared, oh, font size, yeah, oh god, yeah, that is true. I don't know what the fridge happened here. That is true. I did not expect that the chat wall's font size would be this huge. I don't know if I could but anyways, sorry folks, but I think for now you gotta have to go and work with this. I didn't expect this thing with the chat wall, but I'll go and fix it after the episode. I'm in the middle of a show, unfortunately. But anyways, are you all ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it, folks. Are you ready? Let's see now. Is everyone prepared? Yes. Okay. Oh, already people have been prepared for a while. Okay. So with all that said and done, I believe it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with the first story that I have for you all, this is technically a story that came out last week, or this technically kind of came out around the same time as the last episode, but I feel like this is something that really is worth talking about, considering that it is an update regarding one of the animated movies that came out during the summer. And the more that I would hear about this particular animated feature, the better its situation is. Like, it really is a case where it started in the bottom and then suddenly it just slowly climbed itself back up to where now it is like among the top. In fact, it is actually right now among the top 10 highest grossing films of 2023 so far. So with that said, let's go and discuss in our first story about Elemental. Yes, the Pixar movie that came out this year that managed to beat all the odds to surprisingly come out as a success. Now, what is it this time about Elemental that got a significant update? What is it that made itself back into the news? Well, in the case of Elemental, the thing is that not too long ago, the Pixar movie was finally released on Disney+, and it managed to break some major records. Like, when it first appeared on Disney+, many people have noticed. In fact, what ended up happening, just reading from my source here on Collider, it says Elemental has emerged as Disney's best performing movie premiere of the year, securing its position among the platform's top 10 movie premieres of all time. During its initiative 5 days of streaming, the film garnered an impressive 26.4 million views. In its first 5 days of streaming, Elemental has become the most viewed animated movie premiere since Disney and Pixar's Turning Red was released in March of 2022, as well as the most viewed Disney Plus movie premiere of all time in Latin America, just ahead of Turning Red. So in that regard, it has pretty much gotten all these records for the the biggest movie premiere on Disney Plus of 2023, among the top 10 biggest movie premieres of on Disney Plus of all time. It is also the most viewed movie premiere since Turning Red. And even in different places, they've already broken the record for having the biggest movie premiere in places like in Latin America. And this is on top of what they have already achieved so far. And at the box office, just to go and give you all a bit of an update, so far Elemental, if I do recall correctly, it has over $150 million at the domestic box office, and it has a worldwide total of just under $490 million, just very close to reaching the $500 million mark. And that certainly is something that nobody was expecting when the movie just came out. And I'm just going to go and say this right now, and this may feel like a little bit of a hot take, but honestly, I feel like the box office story of Elemental is far more impressive than the Super Mario movie. Like, okay, yes, the Super Mario movie, I think what it has achieved is definitely fantastic. It's great what it has done, especially the fact that it became the highest grossing animated feature ever since Frozen 2, and the first one since Frozen 2 to cross over $1 billion, like really being a key player in reviving the box office ever since the pandemic began. But the thing with the Super Mario movie is that when that one came out, the result that we have seen, well, it's something that we would occasionally see at the box office from time to time. Movies that would make over $1 billion, I mean, yeah, like compared to the amount that don't, they are kind of rare, but I mean, they occasionally happen. Even this year, like, we had the Super Mario Brothers movie, and then suddenly, then came Barbie, which managed to go and do the same thing. So in that regard, it's not necessarily that big of a deal that the Super Mario movie made over $1 billion and is now one of the highest grossing films of the year. I mean, like, a very impressive score and something that Illumination should absolutely be proud of. But I mean, like, these things tend to happen from time to time in Hollywood's modern history so far. But in the case of Elemental, even though it did not make even half of the money that the Mario movie has made, it has done something that is way more rare and actually far more admirable, and that is being a true underdog story. One thing that you have to keep in mind with Elemental, back when it was released, it had one of the worst openings ever for a Pixar movie. Like, only the first Toy Story managed to make a little bit less than what Elemental has started off with. And immediately on the spot, with the way that the internet has this mentality of reacting first and then thinking about it later, people immediately labeled it as a failure. People already called it as a massive box office bomb. Pixar already lost $200 million on that movie. People just spewing out videos and articles about the problems with Disney's business, that Disney is failing, and often using Elemental as an example. And some people even saying that Pixar is in a crisis. Like, right at the start, it was already spelling out doom for Elemental. But then, as the weeks would roll by, as we go into the summer, something very fascinating happened. And usually, when it comes to these big blockbuster movies, when they would enter upon their second week or their third week, like, usually they would take several steps down. Like, it would just go down and down and down and down and down. But with Elemental, it's like a very slow progression. Like, yes, it started off low, but then the reduction just ended up being like just slight, and it's like a very minor slow hill that it went down from, and it just kept on continuing all throughout the summer while it stayed at the box office. So much so to the point where it ended up turning a profit for both Disney and Pixar, and it suddenly finds itself among one of the highest grossing animated features of 2023. Like, so far, only Spider-Verse and Mario managed to make more money than Elemental. And this is not even to mention that when there are other countries that would go and have Elemental, like when it was time for Elemental to be released in different parts of the world, suddenly they would find far greater success than they would in North America. In fact, by the way, MetaRalph, thank you for the subscription right there. In fact, South Korea, I believe, they made Elemental their biggest Pixar movie. Like, I know there are a few places in the world where Elemental is the one where, like, they love the most, more so than things like Toy Story or Cars or Finding Nemo or anything like that. So it was a slow progression, but eventually Elemental did end up find its footing, and now it has become this very unexpected success story. Again, like, it really is this true underdog tale about a movie that nobody really believed would go and become a hit, and then suddenly it went on to go and prove everyone wrong. And it's kind of funny nowadays when you do look back at like any of the posts that would slam Elemental, or people would go and call this a massive failure. Now those posts have aged like milk, and very few of them would go and actually turn around or even graciously take the L for being wrong about their assumptions with Elemental. Saber Spark was actually one that did admit that he was actually wrong about it, where in his review of Elemental, like, he would go and be one of those people that was pretty reactionary and label it as a failure and that Pixar lost $200 million and put that in full display on his thumbnail. But then months later, as things have gotten better for Elemental, he did make an update video where he actually admitted that he was wrong and that Elemental did turn out to be a hit. So that is one thing that I must say that is very admirable when it comes to this Pixar movie, and it's something that I feel like is extremely rare, is that it managed to beat the odds in order to become a massive success. And now that it has officially been released on Disney Plus, now that success has continued and has even grown significantly bigger. Like, as the article states right over here, Elemental has the biggest Disney Plus premiere of 2023 and is among the top 10 best. And it really shows the power of word of mouth. And that really is the key thing of how it became so successful. It's not really because of Pixar's marketing. Usually they would be okay with it, but with Elemental, I don't know, they really dropped the ball on that one. But it was really thanks to the fans, to the people who have seen it, and that they spread positive word about how Elemental is, where, yes, technically it's not Pixar's best movie, and I don't know if people would really go as far and say that it is an absolute masterpiece, but they still say it is a really enjoyable movie in its own right, and that it is actually worth watching on the big screen. And not to mention that it showed something that Disney desperately needed, and that is a sign that Disney's animated movies can be profitable at the box office, that they are worth going to the big screen and to go and watch. And that shows a lot of very positive signs for the coming Disney and Pixar movies coming up, including Wish, Elio, and Inside Out 2, and several others. So already we are seeing some positive signs, and like, this is one of the rare good news that Disney has actually received this year, where amongst all the calamity that they have faced throughout 2023, at least they do have something like Elemental, where it shows that they can have some positives happen in 2023. So overall with Elemental, yeah, it's just very admirable to see the movie doing extremely well. Maybe it's not my favorite Pixar movie. I wouldn't really say that it's it's among my favorite movie of this year, but still, it is an enjoyable film. I do like it, and I think it did deserve the success that it has, especially for the Pixar team, and especially for Peter Sohn, when the director who stated that this is his personal story. And my God, that guy must have faced a massive emotional roller coaster throughout the summer, man. I like, it must have been a very difficult summer for him. But now seeing that things have gotten so well with Elemental, like, now that it has reached a point where it has achieved around the same level of popularity as many of the other Pixar films. Like, I like, this is one where Peter Sohn did finally get a happy ending for this. So yeah, honestly, congratulations to Peter Sohn. Congratulations to the entire team at Pixar for what is possibly the most unexpected success story that Pixar has ever gotten, or at least the most unexpected ever since the first Toy Story. You know, it's honestly very crazy. So yeah, even for an established studio like Pixar, even they can have like some wild stories happen today like this. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about Elemental's sudden success? How do you feel about the fact that Elemental started off as one of the weakest openings for the studio and now becoming a major hit both in theaters and on Disney Plus? I would love to know your thoughts on this. All right, let's see. To say I couldn't be any happier. Like, I gave the support for this film and really rooted for the film to succeed. You would think that Spider-Man and The Flash had them beat with better box office numbers, and wouldn't you know, it built itself up and reached up to be one of the best films of the year. It's true what you say. Well, what a comeback. And it is kind of funny too, because now Elemental has, like Elemental, keep in mind, it has been, like, it was released at the same time as the Flash movie, and it turned out that Elemental completely annihilated the Flash, almost making double than what the Flash ended up. Like, yeah, the Flash did end up getting a better box office opening, but then over time, people completely rejected it, and it turned out to be one of the most hated movies of 2023. I don't know if I would say if it is the worst, and I mean, I'll admit I cannot fully judge it myself because I haven't seen the movie, but I would say, like, definitely the most hated from the public. All right, let's see. Elemental was among one of my favorite animated films of the year, so to see it being elevated to this high a level is absolutely incredible. That, my broskies, is the power of word of mouth. But mostly, I'm glad those Pixar's officially dead posts age like a glass of milk. Looking at you, guy that made a dozen videos that blame the poor opening of Pixar being woke, whose name I can't remember and can't be arsed to look it up. I don't know, man. You gotta be a little bit specific, because that sounds like many incel YouTubers out there. It sounds like a whole lot of these white nationalist, angry divorced men energy YouTubers that they would go and do something like this. But then again, with those types of anti-woke channels, it's more common than not that their content would end up aging like milk, because the grand majority of what they would say, it ends up like in the future, they end up looking like complete idiots, and like they turn out to be absolutely wrong. Let's see, what else do we have here? I expected Elemental would become Pixar's Encanto, but it seems giving it such a title would be doing it a disservice. As somebody who adored Elemental, I am so happy to hear such fantastic news for Pixar's newest classic. Mario, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Spider-Verse may have achieved bigger numbers, but Elemental was the only one that was able to become a success without being tied to an already existing IP. Pixar pedigree or not, Pixar's biggest flop is now Pixar's newest franchise. Actually, I would have to look it up. I don't think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles made more money than Elemental. Like, I know that it is a success and that Paramount wants to go and try to turn it into a franchise, but I don't think Elemental has made more I don't think Elemental made less than TMNT. Okay, yeah, like just looking at it, here, let me just go and copy paste, here, just to give you all a bit of a reference, like, yeah, you see here in TMNT's numbers, yeah, no, absolutely not. Like, this is far from what Elemental has made. In fact, the worldwide gross that TMNT has made is more close to how much Elemental has made just domestically alone. So just want to make that clarification. And no hate on Mutant Mayhem, by the way. I did enjoy the movie, but Elemental did manage to do more. And I'll even say, hot take, I actually do like Elemental more so than I did Mutant Mayhem. Let's see, what other comments do we have here? Let's see. Elemental truly has become the little movie that could. The fact that it started out as a failure on its opening weekend, but continued to grow in its later weeks because of positive word of mouth and also being successful on Disney Plus is an achievement and well-deserved. And I know we're repeating ourselves, but the fact that it made more money than The Flash and Warner Brothers got what they deserved is so satisfying. Well, then again, I would argue, like, maybe this is something Warner Brothers is not necessarily crying about. I mean, yeah, they lost millions, probably hundreds of millions of dollars on The Flash, but whatever they lost, they definitely gained it back from Barbie. So, I mean, you cannot say that Warner Brothers had a massive L of a summer, especially when now they have what is possibly the biggest movie of 2023. Let's see here. Let's see. Remember when 2013 was the worst year of animation ever and Frozen and Monster U were the only films to be amazing? Now we are in 2023 and most animated films have been successful. I'm happy for Pixar, and I'm happy for the cast and crew that helped bring Peter Son's story to life. I almost cried after second viewing, and I do hope it will become a massive fan favorite. Side note, Once Upon a Studio is a mini masterpiece. Oh, that's nice. Although, one thing I will disagree, I wasn't a big fan of Monsters University. I know, a bit of a hot take. I would say, honestly, the only two animated features that were actually good in 2023, or that were actually noteworthy to be worth watching, were Frozen and Despicable Me 2. I think I'll just read one more comment and then we're gonna go on our first break. Just want to see if there's anyone else. What the fridge? I might as well go with this. The success of Elemental on Disney Plus is a sign that releasing a film in theaters, then going to streaming a few months later is a better way to go than just releasing it on streaming like other Pixar films during the pandemic. The biggest thing I'm worried is Pixar's future in theaters, especially Elio. Would Elio have the same reactions as Elemental when it would start slow, then whoom, it would pick right back up for an upcoming March 2024 mayhem? Now let's get a Bugs Life 2 green light right now. Honestly, I don't know how things are going to be with Elio, especially when March of 2024 is going to be so jam-packed with way too many big-name movies. But I will say, what happened with Elemental right over here is going to be a great help for Elio, because Elemental has so far regained the trust from the public about Pixar movies that, yes, going to watch Pixar movies on the big screen is an event worth doing. So I'm sure, like, Elio, I feel like it'll probably do fine. I could be wrong, but then again, I feel like with what happened with Elemental, it's going to be a great help. All right, so with that said, it is now time that we are going to go on to our first break. And when we do return, then we are going to go into the big story of the week. The reason why I am having an episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast right now. So stay tuned for that one. All right, welcome back, everyone. Now, for our next story, this is not just the biggest entertainment news story of the week, but I gotta say is the biggest one of the month. And I know I usually save this sound effect for when it's time for the grand finale, but I feel like with this one, it deserves an introduction like this. So, after 146 days, we have finally reached the moment of the beginning of the end of the strike. And I will be repeating this. It is not necessarily the full-on end of the strike, but it is the beginning of the end. Yes, this is something in which it happened during Sunday night, in which the Writers Guild of America and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers have finally reached a tentative agreement. And with that, the Writers Guild of America also put out a statement explaining what the current situation is going to be happening. So now that they have reached a bit of a deal of what's going on, what's going to be the next step from here on out? Is everybody going to be going back to work now? Are things immediately back to normal? Well, not necessarily. Just because they agreed on a deal, that doesn't mean that now the strike is done and now everybody can get back to work. Now, I will go and read you here from my source on Variety, the full letter of what the Writers Guild of America Negotiating Committee has issued to everyone, in which it says here, Dear members, we have reached a tentative agreement on a new 2023 MBA, which is to say an agreement in principle on all deal points subject to drafting final contract language. What we have won in this contract, most particularly everything we have gained since May 2nd, is due to the willingness of this membership to exercise its power, to demonstrate its solidarity, to walk side by side, to endure the pain and uncertainty of the past 146 days. It is the leverage generated by your strike, in concert with the extraordinary support of our union siblings, that finally brought the companies back to the table making a deal. We say with great pride that this deal is exceptional, with meaningful gains and protections for writers in every sector of the membership. What remains now is for our staff to make sure everything we have agreed to is codified in final contract language. And though we are eager to share in details of what has been achieved with you, we cannot do that until the last I is dotted. To do so would complicate our ability to finish the job. So, as you have been patient with us before, we ask you to be patient again one last time. Once the memorandum of agreement with the AMPTP is complete, the negotiating committee will vote on whether to recommend the agreement and send it onto the WGA West Board and WGA East Council for approval. The board and council will then vote on whether to authorize a contract ratification vote by the membership. If that authorization is approved, the board and council would also vote on whether to lift the restraining order and end the strike at a certain date and time, which is to be determined pending ratification. This would allow writers to return to work during the ratification vote, but would not affect the membership's rights to make a final determination on contract approval. Immediately after those leadership votes, which are tentatively scheduled for Tuesday if the language is settled, we will provide a comprehensive summary of the deal points and the memorandum of agreement. We will also convene meetings where members will have the opportunity to learn more and assess the deal before voting on ratification. To be clear, no one is to return to work until specifically authorized to by the Guild. We are still on strike until then, but we are, as of today, suspending WGA picketing. Instead, if you are able, we encourage you to join the SAG-AFTRA picket lines this week. Finally, we appreciate your patience as you waited for news from us and had to fend off rumors during the last few days of negotiations. Please wait for further information from the Guild. We will have more to share with you in the coming days as we finalize the contract language and go through our union processes. As always, thank you for your support. You will hear from us again very soon from the WGA Negotiating Committee. So, just to give you a little bit of a rundown of what's been written and what has been said, basically the whole thing with the WGA is that technically the strike is not officially over. Like, yes, they have reached an agreement, but there is still one final step that they have to go through, where with the agreement that they have made, now they have to go and put that all on print so that they can have a true contract, so that the committees can go and actually review and see if it's all good, and then they will go on a vote to say, are we going to go and end the strike? So chances are this strike is still going to be going on for a few weeks. But then again, considering that they have reached an agreement, we could be seeing the final weeks of the writer's strike at the very least. And this is not even to mention that technically, even though the writer's strike is done, that doesn't mean that the actor strike is over. That's still another hurdle that the studios would have to go and actually try to discuss with the actors and with the committee at SAG-AFTRA. Like, that's kind of like another thing altogether, which I do believe they stated that they're going to go and start having talks with them on Tuesday. But still, though, this is a very promising sign. The fact that the writers and the studios can actually agree on a deal, that is a massive deal, you know. Well, that is like kind of a big situation. That is a very noteworthy moment right there. And it's kind of funny because I have seen some people like often making fun of like some of the past news, including like what happened with Drew Barrymore or with Bill Maher or stuff like that, where they said that, well, like the whole situation with Drew Barrymore has happened, and some say, oh, well, she should have just waited a whole week until like she would bring back her show. But honestly, I would argue with what happened to Drew Barrymore, I think that might have been a key moment that led us to this moment where the writers and the studios ended up getting an agreement. Because you do, like, I've already mentioned this in the last episode, I believe, talking about the whole controversy revolving around Drew Barrymore. But I think the key thing that is worth noting about the Drew Barrymore controversy and how that affected the strike is that it ended up showing who really has the power during the strike. Because the studios were the ones who were demanding for Drew Barrymore to come back and to restart the Drew Barrymore show and all that kind of stuff. But then, because of the major backlash that Barrymore has received from both the strikers and from the entire internet, it led her to have no choice but to step back from making that premiere, to halt her production, because clearly putting the show up ended up hurting her reputation more so than actually doing any good whatsoever. So in that regard, it showed that the writers ended up getting more power than the studios, that the writers are the ones who actually do have the advantage, and they have more of a say of what is happening in the entertainment industry, more so than any of the executives, more so than Bob Iger, more so than David Zaslav, more so than Ted Sarandos, and more so than who's the one on NBC? I'm just looking at the ones who have been in the committee for the AMPTP. Let's see, just want to go and quickly check from my source. I know there was one little section where they wrote it. Yes. Oh, Donna Langley. Yeah, there we go. We got Disney's Bob Iger, NBC Universal's Donna Langley, Netflix's Ted Sarandos, and David Zaslav's of Warner Brothers Discovery. Yeah. So yeah, the writers ended up having more power than them. And it's a true testament of who really is in charge. And it gave the writers a significant advantage in terms of the negotiations. And that is what ultimately led to this moment right over here. And this is exactly why I have said in the start of all this that we are witnessing the beginning of the end. Again, it's not going to be ending, and chances are we are going to see the strike continue during November, but this is the beginning of the end of all the strikes. And I would even say we could even see the beginning of the end of the actor strike as well, because now that they have made a negotiation and a fair deal with the writers, then there is a good chance and a very promising sign that the actors may end up getting a similar deal. Now, we don't know specifically what this deal is, but considering that the WGA seems to be very optimistic about it, maybe they are getting most, if not all, of what they are demanding, which is better pay and better wages and probably more residuals, especially coming from streaming. And most importantly, job security, because they even mentioned that the final thing that the studios and the writers have discussed about is regarding the use of AI. And there could be a sign that AI's stronghold on the industry could end up being significantly weakened, because now the writer's job security could most likely ended up being protected, that writers are not going to be replaced by AI, because that is what is going to be said in the contract. So there is that chance that's what's going to be happening. Like we will know in a future date, maybe next week, maybe in the next few weeks, we'll know specifically what the deal entails and if it's actually really good for the writers. And then we will go from there. But still though, seeing all this positive sign, it shows that like now they're like, we really are seeing the studios are at the point where now they want to legit make some fair discussions with the writers and the actors and actually give them their payment, especially right now when it has been reported that the damage that the strike has done, like, it's very significant. I mean, keep in mind with the entire writer's strike, it lasted for almost 5 months, and as they said, 146 days, which is definitely a lot bigger than the last one that happened in 2007 and 2008. And we have already seen some immediate consequences that occurred, with Sony Pictures delaying a whole bunch of their movies, and even Warner Brothers have to like push back a few of their films, including Dune and Godzilla vs. Kong 2 and a few others. But like, there's also a kind of a financial cost as well, where not only did it affect a lot of big name movies out there, where it affected the box office performance of films such as Blue Beetle, The Haunted Mansion, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, where yeah, maybe like I know with Mutant Mayhem, some have said that it's a hit, but it probably would have gotten a little bit more if it weren't for the strike. But also because of all the different production delays, because they couldn't work whatsoever, it ended up costing the industry like I wouldn't say billions, but definitely over $1 billion. So in that regard, it already shows that Hollywood has paid the price because of this strike, because of the poor treatment that they have been given to the strikers, and even beforehand to the writers and actors, with the way that they're being a little bit too greedy and keep the money all to themselves instead of giving the workers their fair share. So it's kind of a crazy path, and honestly, who knows what the future may hold, and maybe there might be a few more bumps on the road that we will see with the with the writing strike. I mean, again, it is still going on, and there's still one more major hurdle. Technically, we are in the final lap, and maybe it might happen where there might be a few things that the writers don't necessarily agree on the final on the final note or on the final contract, and from there they might end up keeping the strike going until they fully get what they want. There is that possibility, but for now, this is a very positive sign that we could be seeing people getting back to work, and eventually the actors might follow suit. If I would go and make a prediction, if things really do go well with the writer's strike and the actor's strike, then there may be a possibility that we could be seeing the end of all this and that they will go back to work, I would say by the end of October or early November. And that is the best case scenario if things actually do go well. I could totally be wrong, and maybe this process could end up taking a lot longer, and there is a possibility that it could continue on to like December or even to the start of 2024. But either way, though, seeing that like we're already at this final chapter right now is a very positive sign that the future is going to be looking bright for both the writers and the actors. All right, so now with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and now I'm going to ask you all, how do you feel about what the WGA has written in regards to this new part of the strike, in which it could be ending soon, and that they finally made an agreement with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers? Let me know what you think on this. Let's see here. After 4 months and 23 days and almost surpassing 153 days, which would have been the longest strike since the writer's strike of 1988, the deal has finally reached between the WGA and AMPTP. While I don't expect the writers to go back to work until the deal has been voted and signed, I'm glad the deal has been reached. I'm curious to see what the writers get out of the deal when it goes public, but it better be a good one. Hope the actors get the same deal, but this is great news to hear. Yeah, I would say right now, like, yeah, compensation is all great, but I think for me, what I want to focus the most on, what I'm going to pay the most attention to, is regarding AI. How is that going to affect the deal? Like, what did they agree upon in terms of the issue with artificial intelligence? Because not only will that affect how the technology will be used in the industry, but also the whole trend of AI in general. Because like throughout 2023, we have been seeing that it is like AI mania, and and I'll say right now, if the jobs of writers are protected from AI like entirely, and Hollywood may not end up using it as a way to help out their writing or their acting or whatever, I think we will see a massive downslide for AI. It'll go similarly to what happened with NFTs, where they failed to make like this multi-billion-dollar empire, and the technology will just end up becoming nothing more but a fad. So that's one thing I'm going to be keeping an eye on. It's going to be what they say about AI. Let's see now. As an amateur writer, this is massive news and a great sign that things are getting better in the entertainment industry. Once everything is settled, I'm more than excited to see writers get back doing what they love with the payment and protection they deserve. It's been a long time coming, but it'll be so worth it. Also, I wasn't expecting Bob Iger and David Zaslav to show up, but considering their comments on the strike, the dudes definitely got visited by 3 ghosts, right? Well, yeah, but I think it's kind of like mandatory for them to go and appear, because they are a part of the biggest entertainment companies in the world, especially with Disney. Like, now that they got 2 major studios with not Universal, with Disney and 20th Century, and then you got David Zaslav that's running Warner Brothers. Like, yeah, they have, like, those are the major ones that you have to bring in. I'm honestly a little bit surprised that it's just those 4, that it's just from Disney, NBC Universal, Netflix, and Warner Brothers. But I'm kind of curious as to why is it that we don't see any of the presence from the others, such as Paramount, from Sony, from Lionsgate, and even from the other major streamers such as Amazon and Apple. Like, where were they during these entire discussions? And especially when there were some, like, I know the head of Sony has also made some cringy comments about the strike, about as much as like what Bob Iger has said. Oh, let's see what else do we have here. This took no less than 3 months longer than it should have, but I'm glad we finally have a resolution to this strike. It really is amazing what studios can resort to when stubbornness and hubris override common and financial sense. All they have to do was give up their AI obsession months ago, and we could have had most of this year's fall TV lineup finished. But now, by now. But better late than never, I guess. I hope that the SAG-AFTRA strike gets resolved soon as well. Well, that's going to be something that we're going to have to wait a little while. Like, if not next week, maybe the week after, we're going to get an update to see if something will be done about it. Let's see what else would be on this list. What else would people have to say? I'm somewhat glad that this long strike seems to sees the end of the tunnel, but as the writers' union leaders have stated, the contract isn't definitive. My only worry, aside of the fusion of both Hollywood strikes, is about the very near federal shutdown coming on September 30th. Will this affect Hollywood productions and Broadway shows? Only time will tell, unless a similar scenario happens in previous government shutdowns. That I don't know, and I think that might be a whole other story entirely. I'm not too familiar if that would really be the case, if government shutdowns would really affect Hollywood. Let's see, what other comments do we have here? It's honestly been a tough past couple of days. For 5 straight days, the WGA and AMPTP were negotiating, and I was ultimately worried that they would be another falling out between them. Thankfully, that didn't happen, and now the WGA has gotten a fair deal. Even if the actors are still on strike and some things need to be finalized with the new deal, there is now clearly a light at the end of the tunnel. A huge congrats to the WGA for getting what they rightfully deserve. All right, let's see. As the Prime Minister of Canada in South Park said, "We have won." With the power of spreading the word across social media and personally participating, and you have personally participated with the WGA strike that one time back in June with Disney Animation and the Animation Guild. We did it, people. We are getting into the right direction to help save jobs and lives of thousands of writers, and soon enough with actors. All right, awesome. I think I'll just read one more comment before we jump into the next break. Finally, after 5 months and 140, well, okay, not 5 months and 146 days. Like, okay, that is way too excessive. We don't combine those two numbers. Anyways, the studios and writers have officially come to an agreement to make a fair deal. It's been a bumpy road for us to fight against AI and meddling executives, but all of that finally paid off now that we see a light at the end of the tunnel. We must continue fighting strong for SAG-AFTRA and the Animation Guild. This is a massive win for everyone. To quote Dora, we did it, we did it, we did it. Exactly. So keep in mind, everyone, it is not officially over just yet. There is still one more hurdle that the Writers Guild of America has to go through in order to make sure that we know that everything is done and that the jobs of writers are fully saved. So once again, in the meantime, keep on supporting the strikes, keep on supporting the actors while they are still in the heat of the strike, and eventually we will be seeing this completely be done and that people's jobs will be secured. All right, so now we're going to go on to our next break. And when we do come back, we will be discussing about an upcoming animated feature. Yes, we will be getting another superhero film. And kind of funny to go and mention that because we do have Paw Patrol, the Mighty movie coming up. So something similar to that, but with an added little bit of a twist. Imagine if you take something like The Incredibles, for example, but you mix that with the bad guys. Okay, so now that we are back from our next break, the next story I want to talk about is actually a movie that I just referenced, and it just crossed my mind that it actually connects well with the... Oh, excuse me, folks. Oh, dear. It connects well to the next story that I'll be talking about, and that is regarding Paw Patrol, the Mighty movie, a brand new animated superhero flick that will be coming out in theaters, brought to us by Paramount. And what I find to be very coincidental, considering that movie is coming very, very soon, and this one right over here is actually another Paramount animated movie in which it's prominently themed to superheroes. Except with this one, however, there is a bit of an added twist to it. And what I am talking about is regarding a movie called Superworld. Now, chances are you probably have heard about this brand new children's book called Superworld Save Noah. And this is actually brought to us by Yarrow and Carrie Cheney. So they've created this brand new book. In fact, it actually turned out to be quite a massive hit. The book right over here actually came out in November of 2022, and they even have revealed that apparently a second book called Destructoworld is going to be coming out in early 2025. But even at that, even if Superworld is still considered to be fresh off the shelves, Paramount decided that they're going to go and immediately turn the first book into an animated feature. Now, the added twist with this one, though, is that this isn't any ordinary superhero flick. It isn't really just about superheroes doing the typical superhero stuff. This one has a bit of a little twist where this will also be a heist movie. Now, reading here from my source on Deadline, it states here that Superworld is set in an alternate world where everybody has powers. And when everybody is super, no one will be. Just need to throw that line out because I know there are going to be people who will say that. But anyways, a supervillain has suddenly taken over. The one kid who lacks special abilities is the only person who's able to steal the superstone that keeps the villain in control. But to do that, he must pull off the dangerous heist while rallying his hero friends in a war against the villains. And so far, there is no official announcement of when this is going to be coming out. This is just the announcement that now Paramount has managed to secure the rights to go and turn Superworld into an animated feature, in which Paramount Animation will be teaming up with Temple Hill in order to do so. Now, one thing that I would like to go and mention also is regarding the people who actually wrote the book of Superworld Save Noah, Yarrow and Carrie Chaney, because those two people are actually animation veterans. In fact, it even stated in my source that they actually met back in 1992 at Cal Arts, where they were just freshmen. And from there, they ended up getting married, have a family, yada, yada, yada. But also, they've worked on several animated projects, in which one actually is actually an animated short called The Very First Noel, in which they have produced, wrote, and directed. But Yarrow Chaney, however, is actually a very noteworthy name because he's not just an animation veteran, but he is also an Illumination veteran and one of the high-ranking members too, in which he was a production designer for the Despicable Me movies, along with the Lorax. And not only was he a co-director of The Secret Life of Pets, but he was also one of the main directors of the 2018 Grinch movie. So that should be all what you need to know in regards to this Superworld movie. And I know that there is a bit of a discussion going on right now in regards to the current stance of superhero movies, because I know that it is often a hot button subject, and you know that there's going to be a lot of these big name filmmakers who will put their piece onto it, and some of which they will go and complain about superhero movies again and again. And funny enough, not too long ago, actually, I think just a few days ago, or actually maybe even today or something like that, very recently, Martin Scorsese has made another comment about superhero movies where he was promoting his brand new film, but he also made his typical rant about comic book movies and stuff like that and how they've been hindering the industry and all that kind of stuff. So we've heard about this discussion again and again, and so far, like in 2023, things have not been looking great in terms of superhero films, especially when we've been seeing more flops than usual. And that is especially the case with the DC movies, where two of the biggest box office bombs this year are, wait, what was that other one? Oh yeah, like there was Shazam 2 and the already mentioned Flash. Like, we know that Warner Brothers has already lost money on that. And this is not even to mention that even beforehand, you got Black Adam, which was a massive failure. And then you got Aquaman 2 that's coming up, which honestly, no one is going to be surprised if that turned out to also be a massive box office bomb. But at the same time, it is also worth noting that even in 2023, there were a few superhero films that did manage to turn out to be a hit. And that is the case with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is among one of the top 5 grossing movies of the year. And of course, you do have Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which that turned out to be an even bigger success than the original Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So there is a bit of, there is still a market for superhero movies. And this is especially the case when you do have original superhero movies, and that is the case with what we have here with Superworld, in which they will have a bit of a twist where, I mean, technically it is based on a book, but it's not based on a comic book per se. This isn't anything that is being brought to us by either Marvel or brought to us by DC. This is primarily something that is meant to be its own thing. And I know, like, I understand if some people might feel like, they're not really that interested in the plot line, because there is a part of it where, yeah, it does feel a little bit cliched, where, like, when it comes to some superhero stories, like, when you would hear that narrative, it is a little bit cliched, because, like, most superheroes would go through that phase, like, when they don't have their powers, where suddenly, they're fighting crime, and then suddenly they realize, like, oh no, I don't have my powers, I'm just an average person, what do I do? Like, like, a lot of superheroes have gone through that, and that story has been told again and again and again and again. But this one, I will say, they did add, it's nice to see that they are adding that nice extra twist where now you got that one non-superhero being who's trying to go and save everyone through this massive heist. And it's not every day that we would get animated heist movies. And one thing that really did get me optimistic about this project in particular is with the bad guys. I know that technically Bad Guys is not anywhere near with Paramount. Technically, it is a DreamWorks movie brought to us by Universal. But still, though, that is a great example of an animated heist movie and how that can actually work out within the medium. So maybe we will see something new with Superworld, in which they will add that extra twist with the superheroes that could give us some potential. It could give us something fun and creative that they could go and try and do, where like they're now like, it's not just one, it's not just a heist movie or a superhero movie, it's something that will go and combine the two and take those two elements, what makes them enjoyable, and see how they could go and mix and match. I don't know. I don't know if we have heard about a superhero heist movie before. I mean, maybe it has been done in the past, but those things are extremely rare, especially when it comes to original superhero movies. So honestly, for me, I'm just going to say that when it comes to Superworld Save Noah, I don't know if this is necessarily going to be something that will be spectacular. I don't know if this is something that, for Paramount Animation, this is going to be like a true standout feature in the leagues with what we have just witnessed with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. But I do see promise. I do see something in here that, if handled correctly, this could be something special. I think this is something in which that could be bursting with so much creativity that they could really have fun with the superhero aspect and how they could go and manage that onto a heist story. I could see where, like, if done right, this could actually be a really fun movie. If not, well then, honestly, this could end up becoming, like, most likely forgettable. I don't know if this is something that could turn out to be like absolutely terrible, but honestly, like, worst case scenario is just gonna be like forgettable or just full on meh. Because I'm just gonna say, I do trust Paramount Animation. I know they do have some very talented animators and that they could create some astonishingly beautiful animation and some great visuals. I mean, again, we've just seen their creative potential with what they could do with Mutant Mayhem. And I'm sure maybe they could find a way, maybe not necessarily repeat that style onto Superworld, but, give us that sense of amazement, that sense of immersion to create something awesome with the animation that can complement well with the story. Now, are they going to do that? I don't know, but only time will tell. So overall, I feel like with the plot line here, I'm just going to say I'm cautiously optimistic. I could see the potential where how this could really work, but then again, you never know. Like, there is still room where things might not work out at the same time, so we will see. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and now I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about Superworld Save Noah? Do you think this is a great premise for an animated movie? Or especially, if you have actually read the book Superworld Save Noah, I would like to know your thoughts on how that could be adapted into an animated feature. Let's see. While I was initially making the mental comparison to films like Encanto or Sky High with the premise, I will admit that the heist aspect does add a flavor of originality to it. Heck, when was the last time we got a proper superhero heist movie? The first two Ant movies? Here's hoping this ends up becoming a great one, because I'll say this, what I'm seeing here does sound more original and intriguing than that leaked Under the Boardwalk trailer. Anybody has seen that? Oh yeah, that one. Oh boy, yeah. I'm just gonna say now, things have gotten extremely awkward with that trailer. Like, and it's not necessarily because of like the whole plot line or the whole narrative, but the fact that, I think they were supposed to release that this week, but then came the Russell Brand controversies and the way that he's trying to hide from, like, to like the way that Russell Brand is trying to hide from confronting the allegations by going all conspiracy mode about it. And now we're seeing all his fame, like his reputation just go down the toilet and stuff like that. Yeah, I think like right now Under the Boardwalk is just more trouble than it's worth right now. And until they would go and recast Russell Brand, yeah, I don't really see Under the Boardwalk going anywhere. And even that trailer, I'm just gonna say it's like, yeah, I don't think it's going to be a standout animated film either for this year or for next year, whichever is going to be coming out. Let's see what else we got here. I never heard of the book series of Superworld until now, and this concept sounds promising and interesting. With the exception of Spider-Verse and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and maybe TMNT Mutant Mayhem, since that counts as a superhero film, superhero movies of this year have underperformed lately with their mediocre films. So with this upcoming film from Paramount Animation, it looks like it could be decent as long as it is executed well. So I hope that this film works out for them. And yeah, I will say this, like from the previous comment, they did bring up a very good point about how this does sound like Encanto. And that is another example of like with fantastical people suddenly no longer having superpowers. So in terms of that aspect, like, yeah, we have all heard of that before, but it is true that with the heist element, like, okay, that brings in a brand new twist. That's where things suddenly get a little bit more interesting, and how that can make itself stand out from all the other superhero films or all the other movies in which it features characters with superpowers. Let's see what else we have here. Superworld just has much potential to be successful as any movie you can think of. It might not have the most original premise out there, but it is one that you can take in any direction with enough creativity. A bunch of people never tire of superhero stories at any age, so there will always be a market for them. I think it's all just a matter of whether said market gets oversaturated, it's most likely to fail. I think honestly, the moment that I'm just going to say right now, when I feel like superhero movies are going to be oversaturated and when like people are going to be truly tired of superhero movies, is when we are starting to see Marvel movies starting to fail. Like, yeah, DC has already lost so much momentum, and I mean, who knows? Maybe there is a chance that the James Gunn version of the DC universe might work, it might not, who knows? But when the time would come, if the Marvel movies suddenly, we would see box office flop after box office flop, like not just one bomb, but like a consecutive set, kind of like with what DC is going through right now, that's when we know superhero movies as a genre in its entirety is going to be way too tired. Like, people are going to be way too tired of it. And that's when people are going to be done, and Hollywood is going to move on to the next genre to go and like really dominate the entire industry. At least that's just me. I could be wrong, of course. Let's see. What other comment is there? Okay, it definitely sounds interesting. I can honestly see how this Superworld movie could be creative, and I could see how it can have some interesting ideas and a nice style, so hopefully this will go well, because I definitely hope we could see Paramount Animation succeed as an animation studio, since they haven't had the best luck lately. Oh yeah, like it's been quite a long time since they had any luck. And I mean, like, especially if you don't count any of the SpongeBob movies, yeah, Paramount has just not, they've just not been lucky with animated movies for like decades at this point. Like, their best moment in recent years when it comes to animation is when they were distributing the DreamWorks movies, and even that did not necessarily last long, where it was up until 2012, I believe, with the last one being what was it, Rise of the Guardians, that they were distributing animated features, and then suddenly like their contract expired, and then DreamWorks had to go and move on to 20th Century Fox. All right, what other comments are there? Let's see. Are there any? Okay, yes. When it comes to Paramount Animation, I would say that while their animated movies like Rumble and Sponge on the Run are great looking, the stories in them are not that great. What I do hope for this is that we are going to see this movie actually have a good story with the premise of a superhero movie in a heist element. It does have some great potential. It just needs to be used right. Exactly. You know, and like, this is something that I have mentioned before. I already have great confidence in Paramount Animation making beautiful animation, like not just with Mutant Mayhem, but even Rumble is another great example. I mean, like, that is not a good movie whatsoever, but I do admire the animation that they have produced. Like, they did, like, the animators have done a great job in that feature. So I am fully confident that Superworld will look great, but how they're going to handle the story, that is going to be something we will wait and see, because they already got a pretty solid premise right there. It's just a matter of, can they adapt that well? Will they be able to take that narrative and actually make it work for the movie? That remains to be seen. All right, I think I'll read one more comment before we go on to the next break. I'll say I'm on the same page. Like, I think the concept could have potential. Like, it could be interesting to be introduced to an original concept on the field of superheroes, but then I feel like it just loses it. It loses me a little when the premise is trying to find what makes a certain person special. And the flopping film of hero film doesn't exactly help the situation. But I give it hope. I'll give it hope to the studio for this. Okay, honestly, maybe I can see where you're going with it. Like, okay, it's not set in stone, and I mean, I'm not familiar with the book whatsoever, but it does sound like the kind in which, like, it might have a premise of like, hey, maybe you're not a superhero, but you are super in your own way. Like, okay, it might go into that tiresome cliche route, but again, it'll all depend on how they will go and handle the story, and hopefully they will go and handle it great. All right, so now that we are done with that, we will go into one more break, and when we do return, this will be a discussion in which it may not necessarily have an article, but this is a very concerning issue regarding AI. So stay tuned for that one. All right, so with all that done, with all that said with the other stories, it is now time that we shall be entering into the grand finale. And like I said before, I may not necessarily have an article to go and discuss with this, but instead I do have a little bit of a video, one in which I highly recommend that you go and check this out, because it actually discusses about AI and the current problems that are happening with it. Now, I've already dabbled on it a little bit with this episode in regards to the whole strike and possibly ending soon, especially with the fact that it is a significant issue that has been brought up with both writers and actors, and why is it that they are striking? Because of the threat of how AI could possibly replace their jobs. But there is another aspect that AI is currently starting to be used right now, in which is starting to be pretty threatening for other groups of people, and that is YouTubers. And the video specifically that brings this up is this one right over here, in which it is called AI is Stealing My Channel, coming from the YouTube channel Johnny2 Cellos. And by the way, before I go and continue, I just want to go and mention that Johnny2 Cellos is an awesome YouTuber and an awesome individual. If you have not seen his channel and you're an animation fan, I highly recommend you do so, especially not just an animation fan, but if you're a fan of television animation, because Johnny's specialty is discussing about some of the biggest animated TV shows out there. Like, he would discuss about Futurama, he would talk about South Park, he would talk about BoJack Horseman, and King of the Hill, and several others. So again, highly recommend that you go and check out Johnny. But in the case of his latest video, AI is Stealing My Channel, he's bringing up a new issue that is going on, in which now AI technology is being used to try to plagiarize YouTube channels to go and create content that is similar to theirs. From here, I'll go and let Johnny explain this. Now, of course, I'm not going to play the entire video, but I will play just the introduction so that you could get an idea of what he is talking about. So, Johnny, I'll let you take it away. So here's his little discussion.
So the title of this video is actually only slight hyperbole. It was brought to my attention recently that there's a channel that has ripped off not only a ton of my videos directly, but my entire thumbnail style, which is bizarre to see. What's also clear is that these videos seem to be entirely driven by AI technology. Many of them are running my scripts through ChatGPT, and the editing seems to be so nonsensical and messy that I can't imagine any human being has ever actually touched it, though I have seen some pretty awful editing on YouTube, so you never know. Many of the facts in the videos are just flat out incorrect. They're also ripping video ideas from other YouTubers as well, though they do seem to mostly maintain my thumbnail style. So what I wanted to do in this video is go over some of these ripoffs in detail, go over some other examples of similar AI-driven plagiarism and content, and try to figure out if there's anything we can actually do about it. And I know I normally do voiceover, you're probably not used to seeing my face, but I thought this was a video that could use a little bit of human touch given the subject matter. So let's get into it.
Actually, let's not, because at this point, I want my viewers and for my listeners to go and directly watch your video through your channel. So we're not going to go and watch the same thing. I don't want to go and steal his content, you know what I mean? But anyways, yes. So in this video, Johnny would go really in depth about how there is AI technology and how there are YouTube channels that are taking his content and try to emulate his exact style in order to create theirs. But the catch is that they completely use AI technology in order to do so. They would use several different AI technology in order to go and copy his scripts, to go and take his voice and use some kind of emulated sound system to have the voiceover sound exactly like him. And even the editing in which they would go and present videos, often they would just steal content from wherever they would find on YouTube, or what they would do is that they would go and enlarge the picture in a pretty awkward way, or sometimes they would go and flip it to make it look like it's their content. And one interesting thing that is worth noting, you might have noticed that with Johnny's videos, he has like this little watermark, like he has kind of his icon like largely displayed here. And that is actually a clever way to go and catch which AI videos are stealing his content, because what would end up happening, in fact, there's like little moments that he would go and share in which you would actually see the thumbnail. Like you would actually see it. Oops.
Less work
I
jam
activated
and
an
more
ad
work flow with
for some reason.
Monday.com.
I did not expect that. Okay, come on. Seriously. Just get me out of here. I don't care about milk. Don't make milk sexy. Seriously. Okay, there we go. Yeah, like you would see, like just under here, that like they would take, like you would see how it is like awkwardly zoomed in, and then the watermark is just like right in the bottom, and it's like completely mirrored. So like he would go really in depth showing off showing off how these AI channels would go and completely rip him off, and a few others as well, that this is starting to become a little bit of an issue. And not just stealing their content, but also stealing their thumbnails as well, trying to copy their style. And the results often, like, they have been pretty terrible. And so far from the ones that he did catch, like they're the kind of videos that, like, they're not necessarily like being, they're not viral, they're not really popular, but there have been a few that have gathered a few thousand views, which is starting to become a bit of a concerning problem. And what Johnny is doing is that he's catching the issue before it grows any bigger, because this really is a scenario that if you let this continue, and the more that this would grow, the more that this would become like a serious epidemic onto YouTube. Now, I'm just going to be theorizing here, and I know, like, the things I will say will sound absolutely frightening, but this is the reason why you have to catch this early before it would go and become worse. Because I would say right now, the worst case scenario with these AI channels, the fact that they would go and completely steal other people's content and try to emulate their style in order to make theirs, or that they would go and just make channels that are just purely run by AI, because they would also mention that there are some science fact channels that are completely made by AI, where they would go and just copy entire articles on Wikipedia and then just go and like and just release them as just like small little videos that people would just go and randomly watch. Like, there are many different ways that you can actually make videos on YouTube that are completely fueled by AI. But the worst case scenario would be is if these channels get monetize. That's when it becomes a nightmare scenario, because if the monetization happens, then the people running those AI systems, they are going to go and really pump it up in order to quickly, in order to make a quick buck, and they will do anything in order to go and really manufacture these content again and again and again and again. And I can assure you, nobody is safe from this. Nobody is going to be safe, because no matter what, no matter how bad it may come out, like, they will do everything they can in order to like rip off everybody for the sake of their own content. And I mean, like, if video essay channels about animation can be affected, then like gaming channels or food channels are going to be affected. It doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're in. You can lean as left as a ContraPoint, or you can lean as right as Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, or it doesn't matter how short or long the video that you would go and make. Everybody is going to be affected by this. And then you're just going to see these AI videos that, because they are monetized, because there are people who can make money off of making these AI videos and just mass producing them again and again, it'll end up enveloping the entire channel with nothing but these subpar AI crafted videos. And that's another thing that really is worth mentioning that is a massive problem with them. And that is regarding the fact that these AI videos, they generally suck. I would even say that all these videos that are fully made by AI are absolutely terrible. So not only would these AI scammers be manufacturing videos, they would just be manufacturing garbage videos. And at that point, that's where you could end up seeing a massive downfall on YouTube, because creators are going to be discouraged from uploading their videos onto YouTube, because they'll be susceptible to be copied and plagiarized by AI channels. And then you're also going to get viewers who will no longer be interested in using YouTube as their source of entertainment, because for the most part, a lot of the content that would be put out, they would just absolutely suck, because they're just regurgitated AI plagiarized garbage. So that could be a massive thing that, worst case scenario, we could end up seeing a massive downfall of YouTube, because AI has kind of plagued the entire website with all these subpar content that are just like quickly manufactured. Like, they'll just be encompassed by videos that are similar to like Screen Rant or Watch Mojo, but they'll be even more soulless because no person actually worked on them. They're actually all manufactured by a computer. And that is a concern that needs to be brought up immediately before it gets any worse. Now, at that point, some people might be wondering, well, what do we do from here? How can we go and immediately solve this problem? Well, one way some people would say would be, well, of course, you can go and report this, because technically, manufacturing these AI videos would actually go against YouTube's terms and services. But I don't know if that really is something that can be a good idea to go and actually use that as a solution, because number one, YouTube is absolutely lazy when it comes to enforcing their community guidelines. They, you know, like you can try to go and report them, but YouTube does next to nothing in order to go and, you know, try to solve the issue. This is why you still see many channels thriving over breaking some of their community guidelines, whether it be spreading misinformation, whether it be spreading hate speech, or uploading things that are like borderline pornography. Like, you could still do that, and YouTube shows little to no interest in doing so. It's very rare that you would hear YouTube actually taking action and enforcing community guideline strikes or taking away bad faith actors of their monetization. Like, yeah, we did hear the recent news that because of the allegations against Russell Brand and his poor attempts of trying to defend himself, YouTube did take away Russell Brand's monetization, but it doesn't happen all the time. And there are still people as bad as Russell Brand that are still making a living off of YouTube. That, and also Johnny did actually bring this, brought this up in his video, in which YouTube is not really showing any interest in fighting against AI. In fact, YouTube is actually showing support for AI. And it's actually with one little section here in which YouTube wants to go and create AI tools in which they claim would go and actually help out YouTubers. So that's going to be another massive issue. It's just the fact that not only is YouTube not going to do anything about it, but they're going to go and make the situation even worse, where they're going to be enabling AI even more. So at that point, what Johnny does suggest is that for now, we just go and spread the word. And I know there is like some people might even say like, oh, why don't we just migrate our videos to another platform? But that also brings up another massive issue in the fact that YouTube kind of has a monopoly in this entire industry. When it comes to making a living off of creating content online, it's really just YouTube where you can actually go and legit make a living off of what you would do. Like, all the other ones are not sustainable, whether it be like Daily Motion or video. I have honestly never heard of someone who is capable of making a living off of just uploading videos on either Vimeo or Daily Motion. Really, the only true option that you can have is just putting out your content onto YouTube, and that's it. But I will say though that there may be one alternative that I can think of, and that honestly really does depend if they want to go and push that even further. And that honestly is TikTok. Now, I know TikTok technically is a little bit more different than YouTube, especially when they specialize more in short form formats. But I have seen TikTok recently trying to go and evolve itself a little bit more where they feel a bit more similar to YouTube. And that is regarding something that they have done recently, because they have announced this brand new uploading system in which you can go and directly upload your content that you can put up on TikTok from your computer. Beforehand, you can only do so from your phone, but now they're giving you the option where you can upload TikTok content from your computer. Like, you go to tiktok.com and you can just go and upload from there. And on top of that, they even gave you the brand new feature where you can schedule your videos as well, something that was unheard of in the past. So in that regard, the fact that they're introducing these features that are similar to YouTube, if that day comes that TikTok decides that they are going to go and enter into long format videos and actually have a more broad monetization system where it's about as easy as YouTube, where you can go and actually monetize your content, YouTube is going to be in deep trouble, because that is going to be the time that YouTube will be faced with some legitimate competition, and some fierce competition, by the way. But then again, this is all a hyperbolic, and this is all just a bit of a maybe what if scenario chances are, would TikTok do this? I don't know. And not to mention, would they be able to fight against AI in order to go and protect their content creators? That is another subject altogether that I don't know, especially when TikTok does have a little bit of an obsession with playing around with AI filters. So that I don't know. So yeah, honestly, overall from this entire scenario, the best option that you can do right now is just spreading the word. And just like what Johnny said in his video, what you got to do is just spread the word to spread more awareness regarding what is happening, that we are starting to see AI channels copying and plagiarizing other content creators. I mean, who knows how further this thing can go? Maybe they could be targeting me soon. Maybe they'll be targeting your favorite creators. It could possibly happen. But the best thing that we can do is that with this kind of thing, we can easily see how it can get so much worse and how it could even destroy YouTube as a platform, because it will discourage people from uploading from that platform, and it will discourage viewers from watching it because the content is just going to be on average terrible. So the sooner that we can go and spread the awareness that AI is becoming a problem on YouTube, the more likely that YouTube will probably do something about it. Because when it comes to YouTube, the only time that they will do something that is demanded from people, from the actual YouTubers, is if we make a massive controversy and that we make a big stink about it online. And this is a major reason why I want to go and bring this up. It's mainly because of the fact that this is something that could potentially affect my livelihood. This could legit go and affect my job. So honestly, I am not down for AI to go and copy my stuff and to go and try to make subpar content off of my own work. So yeah, this is just something that I want to go and raise awareness, and I want to go and help spread Johnny's message in regards to this problem with AI on YouTube, and hopefully that you can go out and you can raise awareness as well about this massive issue. So once again, I just want to highly recommend you go and check out Johnny's channel. Definitely awesome content right there, especially for animation fans. So yeah, just want to go and quickly mention about this and bring up this issue. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and now I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the AI problem? How do you feel about AI starting to plagiarize content on YouTube and then uploading their stuff on their own? Let me know what you think. Let's see. You know, as much as Watch Mojo and its sister channels feel AI generated with how impersonal the narrator is and frequently they put out videos, at least I know there is a human being or multiple human beings behind it. AI YouTube videos are a gross and dangerous thing. Honestly, I feel like maybe copyright striking the videos might be the best solution. That seems to be the only time YouTube actually immediately does something. Plus, AI is copyright infringement, so it could be viable. Yeah, and that is also another issue that needs to be brought up. It's also regarding the copyright aspect of it, because technically, if they, the thing is that they do have a copyright, there is this copyright system that they do have. And hopefully, I mean, if the problem does arise that there are some channels that are trying to copy me through AI and stuff like that, I don't know, with the strategies that they're trying to do in order to dodge it, rather it be zooming in on the content and putting up, and then you would go and I don't know. I just feel like with the whole situation, then again, just thinking about it, I don't know if it really does work. I just put out my review of The Pebble and the Penguin. So if they would go, if they would try to copy my content from that, technically the grand majority of it is just Pebble and the Penguin clips. So honestly, can I really go and actually legally put in a copyright strike? Because technically it is my content that they are taking from. So, well, it is my content, but then again, it is the Pebble and the Penguin, and I do not own the Pebble and the Penguin. So you see how the copyright scenario can be extremely complicated in that matter. Anyways, now, Remember when our biggest concern about AI was the threat of turning evil and destroying humanity? I miss those days. This is a serious problem that YouTube and all other websites need to address before. We need not fear artificial intelligence. It should be embraced. No, actually, I should do the TikTok girl voice. We need not fear artificial intelligence. It should be embraced as part of our daily lives. Glory to our artificial intelligent masters. Wait, what just happened? Oh boy, it's kind of funny with some of these AI voices. Like you can the more you hear them, the more like you can have an ear when you know that they are fake. And especially like if you want to go and use them for like very sad or somber things. Like that's the thing. Like honestly, there are times when like it's funny to see how they could be out of place, you know? It's like, watch this bear about to eat this moose. Wow, I am traumatized from what I am watching. All right, let's see. I refuse to listen to any of these AI people about how it's supposed to benefit when cases like this are exactly why we must restrain AI usage like this so it does not happen. Not only do these does AI steal from YouTubers, but we have also seen some people using AI in order to avoid paying artists, voice actors, writers, and many more. And we've also begun to see companies using AI to do the exact same thing. We must start protesting against the usage of AI to show everyone that we will not tolerate this. And that is another massive problem when it comes to AI, is that a major issue with it is technically the people behind it and their intentions with how they are using the technology. I mean, I'm sure that there are ways that you can use AI for good, but in this case here, like with how AI is generally being used, the grand majority of the time nowadays is done by talentless scumbags who just want to go and make a quick buck. Like these are the same people who try to push the public into investing into NFTs, because it is nothing more but just a get rich quick scheme. They just want to go and quickly make money off of like technology where they put in little effort. And that is another massive problem that we need to go and address. And that's why we need to go and emphasize laws that prevent AI from being capitalized. Because the sooner people realize that you cannot make money off of AI, the sooner the fad is going to quickly drop, just like what we have seen with NFTs. Let's see. I think I'll read one more comment before we go and cap this off here. I feel bad for Johnny that his videos were stolen by AI, as this is concerning for many content creators in dealing with AI in the future. AI has become a big problem recently that even Trey Parker and Matt Stone poke fun of it in their latest episode. If this keeps up, then many content creators might end up losing their jobs. I do hope it doesn't get worse from here. Oh yeah, absolutely. So please go and spread the word about the issue, and please go and share Johnny 2 Cellos' video about AI. The more that people are aware about this problem, the sooner that we can go and resolve the issue where AI won't be like we already know that they won't be threatening the jobs of actors and writers, but let's make sure that AI doesn't threaten the jobs of YouTubers as well. And with that said, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. I know that this is a pretty short episode, but again, I was contemplating about not doing this episode today, but then again, well, I mean, we saw what just happened with the whole deal with the AMPTP and the Writers Guild of America. So, I mean, it needed to be done. So with that said, I would like to say thank you all for your support, and thank you all so much for listening and watching. And if you would like to go and have more of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, then don't forget to go and subscribe to me either on the AniMat Live Twitch channel or the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel. And also, if you are listening to me on whatever podcast you're listening to, then don't forget to follow me there, whether it be on Spotify, Amazon, Google, or iTunes. So with that said and done, I would like to say thank you all for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.